What happens in the case of textual analysis, right? The text is analyzed, the text is studied minutely, right? So it is a study of story, it can be a study of plot, summary, or biography of the author, right? So if I select Hamlet, the drama by Shakespeare, so it comes under the category of textual analysis. And if I am studying Hamlet, then I have to study the story, the plot summary, and the biography of the author, and every detail regarding Hamlet drama. Right. For example, the way of language used in Hamlet can be a topic of research. Soliloquies in Hamlet, like to be or not to be, that is the question. Frailty, thy name is woman. These are the soliloquies. So study of soliloquies in Hamlet, it is a textual analysis, right? The climax scene in Hamlet, a topic for research, right? The division of Hamlet into acts, a topic of research, right? The turning points in the story of Hamlet, it's a textual analysis, it's a research, right? So if I am doing a research regarding a text, maybe a novel, maybe a drama, maybe a poetry, maybe a short story, whatever. If my research, my study is limited and it's about a particular text only, it is textual analysis. It is a textual research, right? So take an example. For example, some novel in Marathi, Mrityunjay. So I have to study the text only. So text here means I have to study the story of Mrityunjay. I have to study the language in the Mrityunjay. I have to study the climax scene in Mrityunjay. I have to study different techniques used by the writer regarding Mrityunjay. Right. For example, if I am studying Enterprise poem by Nissim Ezekiel, it would be textual analysis research, right? So as the title indicates, the textual analysis moves around a particular text. So out of text, nothing is studied, right? So a researcher minutely reads and illustrates the information or data available in the selected text in the light of research hypothesis or topic. The research hypothesis or topic. For example, soliloquies in Hamlet. This is a hypothesis or let's say the point. So I have to study Hamlet regarding soliloquies only, right? Regarding soliloquies, what kind of soliloquies are there? How many soliloquies are there? In which part of the story soliloquies are there? Right? Which kind of tone is used in soliloquies? Which kind of words are used in soliloquies? Whether some soliloquies are positive, whether some soliloquies are negative, whether that those soliloquies are depicting the mindset of the character or not, right? So I have to study Hamlet regarding soliloquy purpose only, right? So that's it, right? Let's say the what you say the image of ghost in Hamlet, for example, the image of ghost in Hamlet. As you know that in the story of Hamlet, there is a ghost of Hamlet's father, right? So what kind of ghost is that? His posture, his costume, right? His appearance on the scene, right? When that ghost appears in front of Hamlet, how Hamlet behaves, right? The impact of ghost on the story of Hamlet, right? So I have to study Hamlet text as far as ghost is concerned. So my study is related to ghost only, right? So if I study the conflict in Hamlet, so I have to study the conflict part in Hamlet's story only, isn't it? For example, Tintern Abbey by William Wordsworth. And if I select a topic, that is nature, the depiction of nature in Tintern Abbey by William Wordsworth, right? So I have to study the nature, the natural objects presented in that poem, right? So that becomes a particular angle, right? So if I want to study the different figures of speech in Tintern Abbey, so it becomes a topic, it becomes a hypothesis. So I have to study Tintern Abbey poem as far as figures of speech are concerned, right? So here textual analysis means you have to study the text only. Out of the text, nothing is to be studied over here. So what happens? The research minutely reads and illustrates the information, the data available in the selected text in the light of the research topic. So the research systematically analyzes A to Z material, means all the concerned material in the selected text in general and selected information that is related to the topic in particular. As I told you about the ghost, as I told you about the soliloquies in Hamlet, right? So, as I know, that selected tragedy by Shakespeare, right? He studies the different sides of the text like characters, theme, conflict, dramatic monologue, poetic justice, as well as the data related to the selected topic, right? So, if I want to analyze, if I want to research Hamlet, I have to study the text, right? In general, right? In general, here means all the aspects, that is character, theme, conflict, dramatic monologue, poetic justice, along with the story. And if I want to study a particular angle, that is ghost in Hamlet, so I have to just include that particular topic also, right? So general plus particular approach while studying that particular text, it becomes textual analysis, textual study, right? That's it. So the next thing for research available is criticism. As we know that you people have a separate paper of criticism, right? Theories, literary theories, right? So that comes under the heading of criticism. So literary criticism is the comparison, or let's say analysis, interpretation, and evaluation of works of literature. So literary criticism is essentially an opinion supported by evidence related to theme, style, setting, or historical or political context. It usually includes discussion of the work's content. Here content means topic, and integrates your ideas with other insight gained from the research. So literary criticism may have a positive or negative bias and may be a study of individual piece of literature or an author's body of work. Although criticism may include some of the following elements, in order to support an idea, that literary criticism is not a plot summary, a biography of an author, or simply finding fault with the literature, right? For example, if I want to have a criticism of a text, it does not include the study of summary of the story. It does not include the biography of the author, right? Or it does not include finding fault in that text, right? So if I want to criticize a text, I have to study the biographical, comparative, ethical, expressive, feminist, historical, and mimetic, along with pragmatic, psychological, social, and theoretical concepts. For example, psychological stress in the mind of Hamlet, right? As you know that whenever the Hamlet happens to see the ghost of his father, he becomes psychologically tense, right? So, if I want to criticize the character of Hamlet, then I would study psychological development of the character Hamlet. That becomes a critical analysis, right? So, social analysis, theoretical analysis, comparative analysis. like comparative study of Hamlet and Natasamrat in Marathi. It becomes a matter of critical study. So this comes the criticism. Then comes, as we know, that we have to study all these things not on a ground level, right? No, we don't need to go into the deeper levels. So if I want to study some movements, right? As far as movements are concerned, so the background of selected movement is studied. For example, Shakespearean movement, Victorian movement. You will say that these movements are nothing but the edges. Victorian age, Shakespearean age, romantic movement, like that. So I can study the text in the light of movements also. For example, the change of writing poetry in romantic movement. If the study is this, it can be called as movement study, right? So the impact, or let's say the characterization of woman in Elizabethan age, in Elizabethan movement, it becomes the study of movements in literature. So the background of the selected text is studied over here. Background, right? Here background means Victorian age is there, Elizabethan age is there, postmodernism age is there, modernism age is there, right? Like that. So the emergence of that movement, when that movement came to know, came into the light, its pioneers means starters, its ideals, its assumptions, its ground, right? Then its period, then from starting to the end, are illustrated and studied. For example, as you know that the Romantic movement started from 1798, right, with the publication of the lyrical ballads, jointly published by S.T. Coleridge and William Wordsworth, right. So when that text is released, there started the movement that is called Romantic movement, right. So if I want to study John Keats' poem, right, so I can study the poems. If I select a particular poem, it would become a textual analysis. But if I study the movement in the background of that poem, the movement that is romantic movement in the background of John Keats' poem, it becomes the study of movement. It becomes the study of movement. One more example you can have, that is of psychoanalytical study of the novel To the Lighthouse by Virginia Woolf. So if I am studying the text, the novel To the Lighthouse, it would be a textual analysis. But if I want to study the psychological movement in the background of that text, it would be the study of the movement. It would be the study of the movement. For example, Dalit movement, right? If I study Uchla, it's a novel in Marathi literature, right? Or if I select Jhutan, a novel in Hindi, right? So if I limit my study up to Jhutan only, then it will be textual analysis. But if I study Dalit movement in the background of Jhutan, it would be the study of the movement, right? So my focus is both text as well as the background movement, right? That's the difference. So next thing is writers. In this field of research, a particular writer and his complete literary career is taken into consideration for research work. Particular writer and his particular literary career is selected for the research purpose, for study purpose. So the particular writer, his biography, his tendency, his favorite themes, his development as a writer, his weaknesses, his masterpieces, etc. are illustrated, right? So such writer can be a poet, a novelist, an essayist, and so on. For example, if a topic is selected as Vijay Tendulkar, the angry young man of Indian English theatre, then it would focus not on a particular text. It will focus from the literary career of Vijay Tendulkar as a novelist, as a dramatist, till his last text, right? So his entire career we have to study. And if we are going to study the entire career of the writer, here entire career means his biography, his tendency, his favorite themes, his development as a writer, his weaknesses, his masterpieces, etc. So we have to study all these things. Then and then it would be the study of the writers, right? So we have to study Vijay Tendulkar as a writer, his biography, his favorite themes, how he takes the side of women, how he criticizes the male dominance, how he appeals freedom, justice to to women, right? And we can have the liberal values in the texts of Vijay Tendulkar, right? So his masterpieces we have to study. All the dramas by Vijay Tendulkar we have to study. So if it is so, it would be the research of a writer, right? So if we go towards the translation, right, this is a very new area of research. We know that due to globalization, right, one language influences the other one, right? So a text from one language is nowadays translated to the other language or languages in the world, right? So a new phenomenon has emerged, that is world literature. World literature. So this is a new area of research. So it is a trend now to translate literature in many other languages of the world. So we have different community of translators in this regard, right? So professional translators are available. If I am writing in Marathi and if I want to translate my text, my poetry, my novel, my drama, my short story into German language, I would contact that person, that professional person, and that person would translate my text into German language, right? So it is not, it is essential that I should contact a German professionalist for that reason. I would just learn German language and I would translate that text voluntarily by my its own, right? Or some other person, my colleague, my friend, would translate that text in some other language with my permission, like that. So due to this translation, a local text becomes known to the whole world, right? For example, Gitanjali by Rabindranath Tagore was written first in Bengali language, right? So Gitanjali's importance, the poetry of Gitanjali was limited to Bengali people only. But when Gitanjali was translated into English, right, it got a global platform. And as it was translated into English, it went to Europe, right? And the European people became the fan of Rabindranath Tagore. And that's why Rabindranath Tagore received the first Nobel Prize in India, right? So that's the power of translation. So it is a trend now to translate the text in English, right? As we know that English is a global language. So English is a major target language for translation. Almost all the texts in the world are translated into English. That's why English is called as a library language. So the translation trend is helping to create a new type of literature, as I told you, that is world literature, which is free from the barriers of land and language. So even though I want to, if for example, some a person from Japan want to read a Marathi text, right? What he has to do, he has to learn Marathi first, right? So that was the tradition, that was the past. But today I can translate the same Marathi text into Japanese language, and the Japanese person can easily read that Japanese version of that text without learning Marathi language, right? So that's the magic of the translation, right? So the best example of translation is Dalit literature, right? So most of the Dalit texts, autobiographies have been translated into English language, right? Not only in English, in other languages also, right? So Dalit poetry, Dalit novels, Dalit dramas, etc. are translated from Marathi to Hindi, Marathi to English, right? And that's why many universities in the world, they have set many Dalit texts in their universities, right? So now such kind of local Dalit literature is translated on a large scale, not only in other Indian languages, but also in languages of the world. So that is why now Dalit literature is a special subject in many world-class universities for learning and research. Right. For example, Jutan is there. Right. Shakespeare texts. Right. King Lear is translated into Marathi in the form of Nata Samrat. Right. Shantata Court Chalu Ahe, the drama by Vijay Tendulkar, has been translated into English, like Silence the Court is in Session. Right. So the whole literature in the world is possible, is available for the study. So translation, this research field is also available. So if I want to translate a text, I have to research, right? For example, if I want to translate a poem from Marathi to Kannada language, then I have to study both the languages first, that is Marathi and Kannada. Then I have to just uh, keep the feeling of the Marathi words, and I have to maintain that same feeling to be translated into Kannada language, right? So that translation field is open for research today, right? So the local language, so the local literature can be transferred into global platform with the help of translation. So I can translate a German text from German language to Ahirani language. That is also possible. Right. So history. Next thing is history. So as far as history is concerned, as the title indicates, the traditional area of research. In this area, a topic from history is selected for research purpose. A topic from history means research covers the topics like particular historical period, historical importance, its historical reasons, its impact, its socio-political setup, lifestyle. I can select some historical personalities also, right? So historical character, personality, a historical event, a historical decision, and its impact can be the subject of research, right? The Ganimi Kawa of King Shivaji. If I am studying this, it becomes a historical research. Historical research, right? So, nature of English language in the dramas of Shakespearean age. Automatically, it's a topic of historical research, right? If I am studying Shakespearean age and its English language, then I have to study the Shakespearean age. I have to study the type of English spoken in that age. I have to study the accent, the rhythm, right, and the type of spoken and written language, that is English, in that period, right? I have to study the vocabulary of old English compared to today's English also. So English spoken by a high class people and low class people, I have to cover all those things, right? The second example can be the novels on historical event, India and Pakistan partition. Such novels are called partition novels, right? So history. If I am studying the historical poems, the historical texts, right? the correspondence of King Shivaji, a study, it automatically becomes a historical research, right? The archaeological importance of the forts in Konkan, it becomes the historical research. So we can say that all these things are open for future research, like textual analysis, like criticism, like movements, like writers, like translations, and like history. So these fields are open for the students of literature for further research, right? Okay, so let's stop over here. Thank you.